If you are hearing these words, it isn't random. There is a reason you paused here while others kept scrolling. Something in you has been quietly waiting, almost aching for a confirmation you couldn't name. Proof that your life is not an accident and your sensitivity is not a flaw. Deep down, you have always sensed it. You don't fit the pattern of this world because you were never designed by it. You were set apart by God. And when the set apart reach a certain threshold of awareness, heaven begins to draw near in ways that feel like being noticed, seen, even observed. It doesn't come with flashing lights or dramatic music. It arrives like a weighty stillness, a holy clarity that whispers, "This is your moment." Perhaps you've carried an unshakable restlessness. Rooms feel too small for your spirit. Conversations skim the surface while your heart longs for depth, and the path everyone celebrates looks strangely empty to you. You've tried to shrink to belong, soften your convictions to avoid conflict, and numb your compassion so it won't hurt as much. But nothing quiets the truth. Your heart was formed to carry what this age has forgotten: presence, purity, mercy, and authority rooted in God. When those qualities begin to awaken, you feel watched, but not by critics or algorithms. You feel watched by purpose. Heaven is taking attendance and your name is being called. Let's name the wound before we offer the remedy. Being chosen often looks like being misunderstood. You loved deeply and were told it was too much. You stayed loyal and were told you were naive. You followed quiet instructions from God, and people questioned your motives. You gave generously and found yourself empty in rooms where others never noticed your thirst. It can make you wonder if you should toughen up, blend in, or switch off the part of you that feels everything. But that ache is not a defect, it is a compass. The pressure you face is not punishment, it is proof of assignment. Resistance gathers around what heaven has marked as necessary. Here is the shift. You are not here to imitate the world's rhythm. You are here to carry God's heartbeat into it. When you align with that truth, something changes at the root of your life. Your focus stops chasing approval and starts listening for instruction. Your atmosphere steadies. Your voice gains weight. You begin to live as if your decisions echo beyond the room you're in, because they do. This is what maturation in God feels like. Not louder or flashier, but clearer and truer. Less performance, more presence. Less panic, more peace, and yes, there is a cost. The chosen pay it in private. Turning away from counterfeit assignments, declining invitations that require you to dim your light, waiting on God when shortcuts look tempting. But there is also a promise. When you stop trading your calling for comfort, the presence of God begins to meet you with unmistakable precision. Doors open that hustle could never force. Timings align that planning could never manufacture. Strength returns where weariness lived. You discover that the safest place on earth is obedience. So here is our simple, sacred agreement at the start of this journey. If your spirit bears witness, if something in you knows this is your word, do two things right now as a sign of alignment. Comment 111 below. It's a simple declaration that you're stepping into divine alignment. One God, one purpose, one clear path. It marks the moment you stop scattering your energy and choose holy focus. Subscribe now so you don't drift back into the noise. Stay close to a space that will keep your calling awake and your courage strong. This will not be motivational noise. It will be a path. In the minutes ahead, we will map why you never fit the world's pattern, why resistance has shadowed your steps, how to walk in places you don't belong without being swallowed by them, and the daily keys that keep your spirit unbreakable. By the end, you won't just feel inspired. You'll be commissioned, clear about who you are, grounded in whose you are, and ready to move with a steadiness that does not depend on circumstances. Take a breath. You've waited a long time to hear what you're about to hear. The noise is fading. The call is getting louder. And the moment you choose to agree with God about who you are, the ground beneath your life begins to shift. Welcome. Let's begin. You have felt it since childhood. A quiet divergence that no environment could sand down. Rooms that felt alive for others felt airless to you. Conversations everyone called enough left you hungry. Paths that promised safety looked strangely narrow when you stood at their entrance. You assumed it was immaturity or stubbornness. With time, you tried to file your edges, to soften your convictions, to mimic the cadence of the crowd. But the more you imitated, the more a holy friction rose inside you. That friction was not rebellion, it was revelation. God did not design you to fit a pattern He never authored. He set you apart, and separation always feels like misfit until it is named as calling. 2. Be chosen does not mean better than, it means entrusted with. God entrusted you with a different interior, one calibrated to respond to his presence faster than it responds to pressure. Where others require proof before they move, you are built to move when he speaks. That sensitivity has been your ache and your advantage. It makes you feel too much in casual settings, but it becomes holy precision when you are near the broken, the overlooked, the almost quitters of this age. You read atmospheres the way others read headlines. You notice what is out of place, what is unsaid, what is about to unravel. That is not anxiety. It is assignment. The watchman's burden lives in your chest. Consider how your conscience reacts to compromise. Even in small matters, your spirit will not let you rest. You try to excuse it. Everyone does this. It isn't a big deal. Yet something in you flares as if the smallest choice were a hinge on which a larger future swings. That overreaction is actually correct calibration. The chosen are trained in inches because they will be trusted with miles. God refines your private choices because your public influence will multiply them. What looks like high maintenance to the world is simply heaven's way of establishing stamina and honor in you, long before the platform or the pressure arrives. This is why your heart breaks in unusual places. You grieve the throwaway comment no one else heard. You notice the person at the edge of the room and cannot leave them unseen. You feel the fatigue beneath someone's smile and carry it with you like intercession you never planned to pray. It has felt costly, even unfair. Why must you feel so much? Because love without weight cannot hold a generation. The tenderness you tried to mute is the very instrument God tunes to carry his compassion. When you attempted to harden, you did not become stronger. You merely grew quieter, dimmer, less like yourself. And still the ache returned because suppression is not stewardship. God is not asking you to feel less. He is teaching you to carry what you feel with wisdom and authority. Your difference is not random temperament. It is engineered theology. Before your first breath, God inscribed into your inner life a set of holy preferences. Truth over convenience, presence over performance, fidelity over applause. Those preferences can make you look slow in a culture obsessed with speed, conservative in a climate that rewards spectacle, and stubborn in a world that prizes flexibility over faithfulness. Yet the more you honor them, the more your life aligns. Peace returns, clarity sharpens, strength rises where you once felt scattered. You begin to recognize that what you called personality quirks are actually guardrails keeping you from exits that do not lead where you were born to go. Of course, the enemy has studied this. He cannot steal your design, so he tries to distort your interpretation of it. He whispers that sensitivity is weakness, that conviction is arrogance, that solitude is failure, that long obedience is naivete. He will place you in mismatched rooms and ask why you feel wrong. He will crowd you with noise and then mock you for needing silence. But listen closely. Every accusation reveals what he fears. He fears your tenderness because it heals. He fears your endurance because it outlasts his pressure. He fears your clarity because it exposes counterfeits. He fears your worship because it relocates authority in every room you enter. Identity, then, is not a slogan to recite when you are discouraged. It is a structure you inhabit. To live as chosen is to adopt the architecture of heaven for your ordinary days. It looks like deliberate mornings where you gather your attention before the world scatters it. It looks like disciplined speech, where your words build scaffolding for people rather than gossip that pulls them apart. It looks like consecrated boundaries, where you choose fewer rooms so that your presence has more weight inside them. It looks like secret history with God. Hours no one sees, tears no one applauds, obedience no algorithm rewards. Those hours are not wasted time. They are poured foundations. Without them, the first wind will move you. With them, storms become teachers rather than tyrants. There is a reason praise from certain circles never satisfies you. Your spirit knows that applause can be counterfeit evidence. Approval can confirm conformity, just as easily as it can affirm calling. The chosen learn to measure success by alignment, not attention, by whether God's presence is welcomed through their life, not whether their name is trending. This is why you often feel invisible while being faithful. Heaven is hiding you on purpose, building roots before branches. When the time comes, your fruit will be undeniable. But for now, God is protecting you from harvests your character is still learning to carry. So let us settle this. You are not inconveniently intense. You are intentionally set apart. You are not too serious. You are rightly sober in an hour that trivializes the sacred. You are not behind. You are being prepared. When you feel the tension rise in your chest, the pressure to quiet down, speed up, dilute your convictions to match the room, pause and remember, you did not come to echo, you came to embody. You will not always be understood. You will not always be applauded, but you will be anchored. And anchored souls build things that last. From this point forward, speak to yourself as one entrusted, not as one excused. Guard your inner life as if other lives depend on it, because they do. Refuse the cheap relief of fitting in when you were fashioned to stand firm. Let the Spirit teach you where to pour and where to pass, when to be silent and when to sound the alarm. You are not an accident of temperament. You are a deliberate answer to a deficit in your generation. Your identity is not a costume you put on in public. It is the breath in your lungs when no one is watching. This is why you never fit. This is what God placed in you, and this is the ground on which everything that follows will stand. There is a pattern you have lived long enough to notice. The moment you decide to walk in what is true, pressure rises from what is common. Invitations dry up, misunderstandings multiply, and rooms that once felt familiar start to feel foreign. You take it personally at first, what did I do wrong? But the longer you remain honest before God, the clearer it becomes that you did not do something wrong. You finally did something right. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply arrives, and everything that relies on shadows must either adjust or resist. Your life is that arrival. Your separation is not snobbery. It is spiritual physics. The world, as a system, rewards sameness. It thrives on rhythms that can be predicted, values that can be priced, affections that can be purchased. When a chosen one enters that system with a non-negotiable center, presence over performance, truth over trend, assignment over ambition, the math of the room changes. You become the variable that cannot be controlled. People who were comfortable will feel exposed by your clarity. People who were entertained will feel interrupted by your conviction. They will call your devotion extreme because it confronts their apathy without a single word. They will name your boundaries pride, because those boundaries refuse to fund their chaos. None of that is evidence that you are unloving. It is evidence that you are finally loving rightly. Think about the subtle ways resistance disguises itself. It shows up as opportunities that require you to mute your conscience just this once. It comes as jokes that make light of what God has asked you to carry with weight. It arrives as compliments that push you toward platforms your character is not yet assigned to steward. It pretends to be camaraderie when in fact it is a quiet pressure to dilute. And when you decline, when you step back, take your time, ask God again, the temperature shifts. Smiles tighten. Group chats grow silent. You are told you are difficult, dramatic, overly spiritual. Do not swallow those verdicts. Examine them. Very often they are not discernment. They are discomfort naming itself as wisdom. Separation is not isolation for isolation's sake. It is consecration, the deliberate choice to keep your heart near what keeps you whole. You are not leaving people behind to feel superior. You are refusing to abandon the presence that made you sane. The chosen are not allergic to rooms. They are loyal to altars. If a room requires you to trade the altar for acceptance, it is too expensive, no matter how glittering the prize. Your refusal will cost you temporary warmth, yes, but it will purchase a steadiness you cannot fake. And that steadiness is precisely what God uses when storms move in, and everyone else is searching for a voice that is not rattled by the wind. Notice how resistance escalates when you stop negotiating your identity. The invitations become louder, the shortcuts more attractive, the narratives about you more creative. This is not because you have become a villain. It is because a spirit of compromise is losing a customer. Hell does not mind you believing in God so long as you keep your calendar for sale. But the moment your time, your words, your attention, and your affections answer to one voice, you become inconvenient to systems that profit from your distraction. You suddenly don't fit the culture, not because you cannot adapt, but because you will not kneel. That refusal is not arrogance. It is survival. You are protecting the very lamp God lit inside you. There is another dimension to this resistance. Your presence awakens hunger in people who are pretending not to be hungry. They have learned to live on spiritual crumbs, to make peace with a life that is busy enough to drown out the ache. Then you arrive, quiet, clear, anchored, and something in them remembers. They will not always thank you for that remembering. Sometimes they will resent you because remembering makes pretending harder. Be gentle anyway. Your assignment is not to win every argument. It is to remain a living invitation. Judgment pushes people deeper into hiding. Holiness invites them into the light without humiliation. Your steadiness can be a doorway if you refuse to turn it into a stage. Some of your loneliness, then, is not punishment. It is provision. God has set you apart to set things right. And there are seasons where the only way to keep you aligned is to simplify your circle. He prunes noise so that you can hear nuance. He subtracts hurry so that you can recover holy pace. He limits the crowd so that the right companions can find you. People who do not require you to shrink, who do not treat your convictions as curiosities, who do not panic when you stop performing and start listening. The chosen are not meant to travel alone forever, but they are often asked to begin that way, so that when partnership comes, it meets you whole rather than desperate. Understand? 2. That separation will refine your speech. The more clearly you know who you are, the less you need to explain it. You will find yourself withdrawing from debates that cannot bear fruit, letting rumors die of neglect, allowing misunderstanding to be a tax you pay for clarity. This is not passivity. It is discipline. You are learning to spend words where they build, not where they bargain. You are learning that God defends what He designs, and that your best apologetic is your consistency. Keep showing up. Keep choosing the narrow path in private.
Keep blessing those who misread you.
Over time, integrity writes paragraphs no accusation can erase. The world will keep trying to sell you back your belonging at the cost of your birthright. It will offer you seats if you silence your song, visibility if you surrender your voice, comfort if you cancel your consecration. Decline with kindness. Smile with freedom. Remember that you are not homeless. You are housed in presence. You are not missing out. You are being made. You are not too different. You are finally distinct enough to be useful. Resistance is not the headline of your story. It is the backdrop against which obedience shines. One day, sooner than you think, the very places that resisted you will require what only your separation preserved. Rooms that said, "You're too much," will ask, "How did you remain?" People who dismissed your pacing will seek your counsel for endurance. Systems that mocked your guardrails will hire your wisdom to rebuild what collapse exposed. When that day comes, do not gloat. Do not say, "I told you so." Say, "Come and see." Lead them where you learned to stand. Show them the altar that saved your life. Invite them into the presence that taught you to live untangled. This is why resistance follows you. Not because you are wrong for the world, but because you are right for its healing. Separation is not rejection. It is readiness. Keep your oil. Guard your flame. You were set apart to set others free. There is a reason your tears have not been wasted and your nights have not been ignored. In the language of heaven, pain is not a verdict. It is a forge. The chosen are not mass-produced. They are hand-finished in heat that lesser metals cannot bear. When the pressure rose and you felt abandoned by those you once trusted, it was not evidence that God had stepped back. It was evidence that He had stepped in closer than breath, turning up a refining fire that burns away what cannot carry destiny and preserves what must. What felt like breaking was, in truth, separating. Gold from alloy, assignment from appetite, truth from the tremor of people-pleasing. Think back with holy honesty. The betrayal that stunned you taught you to hear God over praise. The delay that exhausted you taught you to walk by conviction, not by calendar. The door that slammed in your face taught you that favor is not a hallway of human yeses. It is an atmosphere God creates around an obedient life. You did not know it then, but every loss was loosening you from props you could no longer afford to lean on. The fire was not sent to make you smaller. It was sent to make you solid, so that when God places weight upon your shoulders, your structure does not crack under the testimony you will carry. Pain has another holy assignment. It cleans your sight. You now recognize counterfeits sooner, not because you are cynical, but because you are healed. You discern manipulation in honeyed words because you remember what it cost you to ignore warning bells last time. You feel atmospheres shift before conversations start because your spirit has learned the difference between peace and performance. This is not paranoia. It is stewardship. God has entrusted you with a sensitivity that protects the oil on your life, and that sensitivity was sharpened in the very valleys you begged to escape. Do not misread the fire as a failure of prayers. The furnace is often God's answer to prayers you did not know how to pray. Make me whole. Make me wise. Make me usable. Wholeness requires heat to seal what was cracked. Wisdom requires heat to expose what was hidden. Usefulness requires heat to shape you for the grip of His hand. And because the chosen are called to carry hope into hostile places, your preparation could not be painless. Easy seasons do not produce unshakable saints. They produce delicate ones. You were never meant to be delicate. You were fashioned to be durable, with tenderness intact. There is a paradox in holy refinement that only the chosen understand. You become softer and stronger at the same time. Softer toward people, because you remember what pain feels like. Stronger toward darkness because you remember who rescued you from it. Mercy and backbone grow together in the fire. You can hold boundaries without bitterness. You can forgive without reopening access. You can bless those who cursed you while refusing to fund their chaos again. This is maturity, not meanness. This is love with a spine. Let us name the lie that tries to haunt refined ones. If you were truly chosen, it wouldn't hurt this much. The truth is the reverse. The degree of your warfare often mirrors the degree of your usefulness. Hell does not waste artillery on ornaments. It spends it on instruments. The onslaught against your mind, the relentless suggestions to quit, the coordinated misunderstandings, these were not random. They were a last-ditch effort to keep you from realizing that survival has already become stewardship. You did not just make it out. You learned how to guide others out with you. Refinement also reorganizes your pace. In the old days, you responded to pressure with hurry, afraid you would miss what was meant for you. After the fire, you respond to pressure with presence. You have learned that what God authors, God sustains. What He assigns, He aligns. You walk slower on purpose now, not from fatigue, but from fidelity. You are finished with proving. You are finished with performing. You are finished with sprinting for rooms you no longer need. That settledness will look like stubbornness to anxious people. Bless them and keep moving. You are keeping rhythm with a different metronome. Listen, your scars are not liabilities in God's economy. They are credentials. They testify that you can be trusted around the wounded because you will not use their pain as content. They announce that compassion, not curiosity, will lead your questions. They prove you can carry breakthrough without breaking people. Authority in the kingdom is not granted by applause. It is granted by altars you did not abandon when it would have been easier to numb out. The altar you kept returning to in private is the platform God can trust you with in public, whatever that platform looks like for your assignment. If, even now, there are embers still glowing, resentment, weariness, unanswered questions, bring them to God without editing. Refinement is not a single event. It is a way of life. He is not ashamed of your process. He is not threatened by your honesty. He will meet you where the ache still lives, not to scold, but to strengthen. Ask Him for fresh oil for the same road. Ask Him for joy that does not deny sorrow, but outruns it. Ask Him for rest that does not require retreating from responsibility. These graces are not luxuries for the chosen. They are equipment. Finally, lift your head. The fire did not only purify your past, it prepared your future. There are assignments on the other side of this chapter that would have crushed the version of you who needed everyone to understand. There are people waiting on the other side of your yes who do not need your perfection. They need your proof, and you have it now, etched into your memory, written across your endurance, humming in the calm way you enter rooms you used to fear. You are not who you were, and that is the point. God did not save you to keep you sentimental about old seasons. He saved you to send you, so wear your refinement without apology. Let humility frame it and holiness fuel it. And if anyone asks you how you found this steadiness, you can tell them the truth with a peaceful smile. I did not. God forged it in me, and He will forge it in you. To live as one of God's chosen is to breathe a different air, while standing in the same streets as everyone else. You are sent into a world that did not shape you, asked to bless a culture that does not always welcome you, and called to carry a tenderness that must not be traded for toughness. The secret is not escape, it is consecration. You remain present, but you refuse to be porous. You stay kind, but you do not become compliant. You move among people, yet you keep step with God. This way of walking begins on the inside, where your awareness rests in God before it rests in outcomes. When the day crowds you with headlines, noise, and the expectations of others, you learn to pause and return to the quiet place where His voice is larger than the volume of circumstance. In that inner room, fear loses its leverage and urgency loses its authority. Your heart remembers that guidance is not a scarce resource and that provision is not a coin you earn by worrying. From that remembering, you step back into the day carrying an atmosphere that does not match the room you enter. It changes it. Being set apart also requires holy boundaries that protect the oil on your life. You stop giving unlimited access to people who treat your presence as a power outlet for their chaos. You love without letting yourself be used. You forgive without reopening doors God has closed. You show mercy without subsidizing dysfunction. This is not coldness. It is stewardship. God did not anoint you to become a sponge for everyone's storm. He anointed you to carry a calm that invites others into His order. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to remain unentangled long enough for truth to be seen. Authority, for the chosen, is never swagger. It is sobriety. You do not plead for legitimacy, perform for approval, or explain away your obedience. Obedience is your explanation. You are finished asking permission to be who God called you to be. If your peace makes anxious people uncomfortable, you bless them and keep walking. If your clarity exposes confusion, you speak softly and stay steady. You are not here to win arguments. You are here to carry presence. And presence convinces without a speech. There will be moments when old patterns tug at your sleeve. People-pleasing dressed as kindness. Overfunctioning disguised as faithfulness. Silence masquerading as humility. In those moments, you remember what the fire already taught you. Love has a spine. You can say yes to God and no to manipulation in the same breath. You can be gentle without being manageable. You can remain approachable while remaining unavailable to assignments He did not author. Heaven trusts you with influence because you have stopped trying to buy it with compromise. To walk set apart is also to cultivate a rhythm that honors the limits of your frame. You are finite by design, filled by the infinite by grace. Fatigue is not a badge. It is a bell. When it rings, you return to the well. Scripture open, prayer unhurried, worship without agenda, until the soul that was frayed becomes whole again. In that returning, God reorders what the weak disordered. He rethreads courage through your thoughts and stitches patience back into your tone. You rise from that table not as a hero but as a vessel, clean, available, and strong. Do not be surprised when misunderstanding follows this kind of life. Those who trade identity for acceptance will call your peace arrogance and your boundaries pride. You will be tempted to explain yourself into exhaustion. Resist it. Let your fruit do the talking. Time is a faithful interpreter of holy motives. The same voices that question your restraint today will one day ask you how you learned to carry joy that outlasts storms. When they do, you will tell the truth. You stopped copying the room and started mirroring the one who sent you into it. There is a beauty to this path that no platform can replicate. You will find yourself shepherding conversations that were headed toward despair, back toward hope with a single sentence. You will notice anxiety softening in people simply because your silence is not empty. It is inhabited. You will witness small obediences, an apology, a boundary honored, a secret act of generosity, triggering chains of redemption you may never get credit for. And that, beloved, is the point. The chosen do not need credit when they carry calling. Keep walking like this, eyes lifted, spirit listening, pace unhurried, heart guarded and generous at once. Refuse the counterfeit comforts of cynicism and performance. Stay tender enough to be moved and resolute enough to be led. The world does not need your perfection. It needs your presence-led persistence. And as you move, the evidence will follow. Rooms will breathe easier. Decisions will find their timing. And people will encounter God not because you announced Him, but because you arrived having been with Him. Chosen of God, take one last look at where you began and where you now stand. You started with a question. Why do I feel different? Why does the world's rhythm never fit my steps? And you arrive here with an answer that is no longer theory but testimony. You are set apart, not to escape the world but to shape it. Your difference was never a defect. It was your divine distinction. The ache you felt was not absence, it was assignment. And every season that threatened to silence you has become the proof that you were called to speak with a steadier voice, to build with wiser hands, to love with a braver heart. Carry this clarity like a mantle, not a medal. Mantles serve. Medals show. The mantle on your life is not for display, but for delivery. To deliver hope where despair grew roots. To deliver order where chaos claimed a seat. To deliver mercy where punishment seemed inevitable. Your story does not erase scars. It redeems them. Your scars are now signposts that point the weary toward the God who does not waste pain, and the grace that does not fail. Remember the path that keeps you unshakable. Mornings consecrated before momentum begins. Words guarded like seeds. Holy interruptions that return you to awareness. Quick forgiveness that keeps your heart light. Curated inputs that honor your future. Embodied stewardship that preserves your strength. a small aligned fellowship that sharpens your discernment, and a record of God's faithfulness that answers doubt with memory. These are not heavy chains. They are living rails. Stay on them and your life will carry the weight of heaven without collapsing under it. Do not mistake quiet for weakness. Authority often arrives without announcement. Let your calm be your signature, your consistency your sermon, your gentleness your strategy. You do not have to force doors that grace intends to open. Walk in step with the one who called you, and the timing of your life will feel less like a race and more like a river, sure, guided, and generous. When pressure rises, answer with presence. When fear argues, respond with scripture. When delay taunts, bless the timing. When noise swells, return to silence. When loneliness whispers, find your people and pray. When weariness lingers, rest as obedience, not avoidance. You will find that heaven meets you precisely where you choose to agree with it. Now lift your eyes. The field in front of you is not barren. It is waiting. There are assignments with your name on them. Homes that need your peace. Teams that need your wisdom. Strangers that need your kindness. Altars that need your intercession. Decisions that need your clarity. And valleys that need your song. You do not carry a borrowed light. You carry the light. Walk it into rooms and watch what bows. If this message has confirmed what God already whispered to your heart, if you felt seen, steadied, and sent, then choose a public agreement that echoes the private yes you've already given. Let today be the day you stop negotiating your calling and begin narrating it. Speak life over your steps, bless your future in advance, and refuse the old lie that you must become smaller to be safe. Safety is not in shrinking. It is in sheltering under the hand that chose you. Finally, a simple invitation for those who want to keep walking this narrow, luminous road together. Subscribe now. Not as a habit, but as a holy decision to stay aligned with teaching that keeps your spirit sharp and your steps sure. When you subscribe, you're not joining a crowd, you're committing to a cadence. You're saying, keep my heart reminded, keep my focus clear, keep my fire supplied. If this resonated, subscribe, and let the next word find you right on time. Go in quiet confidence, build what lasts, love without retreat, and remember, being chosen is not a feeling you chase. It is a fact you live.